Hello and good day to you. My name is John, I'm also known as Sodrefin, and today I shall be giving my full review for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It has been a long time since I last played it, and I waited because I wanted to give more time to reflect on the game as a whole, and not let the nostalgia have a grasp of my opinion. There will be a lot of praise in this review, but also some criticisms. So if you're looking for someone who nods along and just says they love everything about it, you're better off watching somebody else. I'm just going to give my thoughts on the game as a whole. It's not to say I'm right, just my thoughts. I'll start by letting you know that I have been a Final Fantasy VII fan since 1997. The moment I saw the whole city of Midgar, I was instantly hooked. And it has cost me a lot of money and countless of hours of my life ever since. Most of it's been worthwhile, and it's led me to meet some great people, so I will never complain about that. I enjoyed Remake. I thought it was brilliant. Back in 97 when we left Midgar, I was disappointed. As much as I wanted to see more of the world of Final Fantasy VII, Midgar was the first location in any game that felt like a home. Even though it was a bit of a crap hole, I enjoyed it there and I wanted to spend more time exploring. So when I heard that Remake was only going to be set in Midgar, I was thrilled, and it ended up being everything I'd hoped it would be, plus more. The original characters were all spectacular, and the new ones were fun, and they all contributed towards the story. Characters such as Johnny, Heidegger, Hojo, and the Turks got more time, which was exactly what I wanted. Yuffie's chapters were great. Sonon was an impressive character to meet. We got to spend time with them too as they searched for materia, which made sense because Yuffie she's always after materia, and that being a reason she's in Midgar makes total sense. Scarlet finally got her chance to shine too. Nero felt dangerous, and the story itself led to the world building. The way the chapter ended with the destruction of Sector 7 was perfectly executed, and even though I was expecting it, Sonon's death was hard to take. Overall, I would say a huge well done to the remake team. The only complaints I have about it were minor ones, such as bad bits of dialogue. You know, when Cloud's talking about Soldier and Barrett suggests that he was a 1-year-old. It felt like that was written by a child, and the whole Barrett saying might start a new trend, that was out of place. Some of Aerith's dialogue was poor. Overall, it wasn't too bad. Throughout the entire game, I'd say that the majority of the dialogue was okay to decent. Anyway, enough about Remake. Oh, that's my phone going. Enough about Remake. I want to talk about Rebirth. So, off we do go. As I said, it's been a while. It's been several months since I last played it, which is disappointing because I'd much rather have said I've played through it several times. But I can't bring myself to do it, and it's mostly because of the English translators or the localization team. I'll talk about this throughout the video because I enjoyed most of it. I did enjoy most of it, of the game, that is. I'll cover the story first, as Final Fantasy is primarily a storytelling game. It starts exactly where we left off, with the strange Zack alternative world. I must admit, I didn't really care much for that, but then we go into the first chapter, which is in Nibelheim. Cloud is telling the story, with Tifa and Sephiroth being there, and that was when the nostalgia properly kicked in. We got to experience so much more this time. And in a short time, we got to know the people whom Sephiroth would end up killing. And also, from a storytelling perspective, Tifa not remembering Cloud being in Nibelheim is a massive improvement on the whole narrative. I always thought it was a bit silly that she didn't question that. But the fact is that Cloud knows all of the events, so in Tifa's mind, she must be like, what the hell is going on? And I thought that was fantastically done. The journey to the Chocobo Ranch was fine. Seeing and fighting the Midgazolem, I'm calling it the original name, that was nice. And the mine, the Mithril mine, actually felt like a mine. It was huge, and it felt like you could get lost in there. Barrett showed early on that he was experienced in the trade, which again is an improvement. We meet Elena for the first time, and Senga takes a shot. And after that, you see a giant bird take one of the men in black, which was kind of horrible to see. Great for the game, though. You see how vulnerable these men are. The resistance in and around Junon, they felt a little weak, but it was okay. Not everyone is. Not everyone can put up with the fight that Cloud and Barrett are. Rhonda wasn't a strong character, and for some reason sometimes she'd get stuck in the ground. That was the only buggy thing in my experience, was that half her body would be stuck in the ground, so I'm not sure what was up there. I was fine with Yuffie being the one who needed saving instead of Priscilla, because it meant the team had to interact with her. The Junon March, or Rufus's Parade, was entertaining. A little over the top, but it was in the original and we accepted it back then, so I accept it now. I appreciated Cloud becoming more enthusiastic about the 7th and actually taking a liking to these characters, and I hope they make a return later in Part 3. Tifa and Aerith also taking part made it more engaging, so well done to the team with everything they've done with that chapter. Hojo's extra experiments, attacking the cruise ship on the crossing, they actually made him feel much more dangerous. And it made you see how little he values people. He is nasty. The card tournament was a creative way to extend the chapter. And also, the cruise ship was the natural location for Andrea and Madame M to return. I thought the card player Regina felt a little bit out of place. It was kind of like, I got a bad attitude, deal with it kind of thing. Anyway, in Costa del Sol, we meet Johnny again because the party cannot find a hotel to stay at. I was glad to see him here, as we did in the original. He's set up his own place, but he's also a lackey for the mayor, who is doing favours for Shinra. And then Hojo attacks the party, and ultimately it is Johnny and Yuffie who team up and help them when Hojo captures them. After that, it's to climb up Mount Corral, which was huge, and the sights were magnificent there. Barrett's history was told brilliantly. I felt so sorry for him, and this time I felt sorry for the people of Corral because you could see that they're in pain. Barrett explains what Shinra did after the reactor explosion, and that Scarlet is the one who shot his arm to pieces. You actually see how brutal that part was. The Golden Saucer was next, and I hated the intro dance thing, but that's me. I'm fine overlooking it. Everything cannot be to my taste, and that was one of the parts. Everything else there was great. The party meets Kate Sif for the very first time, and he tags along after explaining to Cloud, and on my version it was Tifa, that a man with a gun for an arm has gone on a killing spree. The prison was a very good chapter. Dine's interactions with Barrett are the most memorable from the game. I'm 50-50 on the change of Dine's death because I really enjoyed his part in this version, but I also admired his part in the original. I don't know why, but with such a short amount of screen time, Dine just sticks with you. And he's a well-written character, and the voice actor gives an incredible performance. So well done to the gentleman who brought him to life, he done outstanding. Like, it was emotional when Dine says that he knows what he has to do to join his wife and Marlene, but he can't bring himself to do it. Like, you can actually hear pain in his voice as he says that. That was awesome. I didn't really care much for Palmer's attack straight after that, although I was happy to see that buggy. I knew it was coming, and that was brought in such a great way. However, going around in a circle over and over with that mini sequence, that was kind of tiresome. I think it would have been by far better if it covered a large distance. That circle was very small. I did enjoy the Gongaga chapter. The place, to me, in the original, the first time you go there, it's quite unimportant because you can skip it in the original. I drove past the first time. I didn't know it existed until later in the game. The one flaw of Gongaga, the chapter itself, is getting around that map because although it wasn't complicated, I found it annoying. I don't think a story-based game should have that. And it felt worse than the Cloister of Trials in Final Fantasy X for some reason to me. I just didn't like it. The Cosmo Canyon chapter, I did enjoy parts of it. Others not so much. I'm going to talk a bit about Red later. But I did really appreciate that Guy were more involved this time around. But Cosmo Canyon, I disliked that we were surrounded by, well, American tourists, it felt like. That bothered me a lot. The whole sitting in a circle, like a rehab circle, it's overdone in storytelling as a whole. And considering that the party should be keeping a low profile, because they are wanted by Shinra. And they've just recently been attacked by them. So I don't know why they would have brought themselves to the centre of attention, because it is inconsistent with the story being told. Especially Aerith. Like, she saw how much money Shinra wanted to pay for her. I know that Reeve changed the poster, but not everybody would have seen them posters, and enough would have seen the information prior to that. But also Shinra are out and about, they know what they look like. So that didn't make sense to me. Red's trial was fine though. That was good actually. That was really good. The Nibelheim chapter was next, and that was great overall. Tifa realised that this time the town had been rebuilt, and that worked better. Straight away she knew. Instead of like a what's going on. It's actually the first location that we see that the guys in black, in the black capes, they're being taken care of. And also, the reasoning for the team splitting up into two, it made sense because they needed that key card. Kate Sith is adamant about that. The surprise boss fights made me smile. I wasn't expecting them. Yeah, but overall, Nibelheim, they nailed that. The return to the Golden Saucer, I didn't enjoy it. Again, a me thing. I hated Aerith's song. Nothing in a game has ever felt so forced. Don Corneo returning made no sense because he's supposed to be fearing for his life. So the whole him versus Dio, it didn't feel right. He's supposed to be on the run from Shinra, who just turn up anyway. Rufus was a bloody tough battle. Fun, but tough. Kate Sif's betrayal this time felt more real than it did in the original. And I'm glad that they kicked him out the party for it. After that, it is the Temple of the Ancients, which was brilliant. Watching everyone struggle to find their way around brought a smile to my face. It was as complicated as it should have been, and yeah, I really enjoyed the Temple of the Ancients. Everything after, so City of the Ancients, it was okay. I wouldn't say it was great though, and what I thought was unnecessary and slowed the story down was Zack. I just didn't care. I wanted his parts done with. I wanted to skip over it. And his involvement in the end felt like it was pushed. I don't think it should have been included, and just leave the... And this is beyond Final Fantasy now, it's everywhere. Leave the multi-universe nonsense to Marvel. It doesn't add anything to the game. It doesn't add anything to any story. It just pulls it down for reasons that are beyond me. I think this is directed at the creators. Zack is dead. Aerith dies. I know they have plenty of fans, but don't force them to be included at the cost of the quality of the story. Like, other than that, I thought the story was absolutely fantastic. Amazing, even. Really good job. But those little criticisms there, they're not what I disliked most about the game, but it just felt tacky. Especially that weird date between Cloud and Aerith. To sound British, that part was rubbish. Anyway, big positives now. The boss fights, and that is there were lots of them, and I died more times than I was expecting, which I was glad about. Especially on hard mode. They were exciting, many of them were unique, and most importantly, they were fun. Make the fights fun, they did it here. The minigames, I enjoyed them. Some things I'm going to rate out of 10, including the minigames and the characters. So I will start with Queen's Blood, and I'm giving that 10 out of 10 straight away because it is the most fun side game in any game I've ever had. Awesome. I can't get enough of Queen's Blood. I love Queen's Blood. Well done to the team for that. The 3D fighters, I preferred that this time around because it was reflex over luck. I will give that 8 out of 10. The chocobo racing was great. I will give that 8 out of 10 again. The frog jumping had me laughing. That was fun. And for the effort of the frogs, I'm going to give that 10 out of 10. Because it does its job. You don't have to play it over and over. You just do it when you need to. The Junon March was spectacular. I am giving that 10 out of 10. The only ones that I'd not play for fun in terms of games were the Fort Condor and the Gears and Gambits. They weren't bad. They just weren't as fun as I'd hoped. I'd give Fort Condor 6 out of 10 and the Gears and Gambits 5 out of 10. The motorbike game, 8 out of 10 for that. And I cannot at this time remember the space game, but I'm giving that 8 out of 10 as well. The music now. The music was awesome. It was just the old pieces and the new ones as well were incredible. I can't get enough of the music. I bought the album the moment it was released on the Square Enix store. I listened to it most days. The Gone Gaga music helped around with the getting around that map. I went to the concert in London not so long back, and I got goosebumps when the Gone Gaga music hit. Oh, I cannot praise the music enough. Everywhere, 10 out of 10 for the music. The visuals of the game now, they are incredible. I couldn't get enough of looking at the world that they created. From the grasslands of Calm to the mountains of Nibelheim, it felt epic. And just going around the world in a tiny Bronco, passing by the locations that we've seen, like Corel, was awesome. Like, you know, something that stood out was when you climb in Mount Corel and you look back towards Costa del Sol. That was awesome. You just see with the zip lines and the cruise. I think it's called the Shinra 8. That was magnificent. The visuals get 10 out of 10, and the way that the characters look as well, that gets 10 out of 10 as well, because all of that is perfect. I wouldn't change any of it. Right, on to the characters now. I'll rate the characters out of 10 as well. Cloud, he is my perfect protagonist. He was flawed from the start, and that is what helps make him great. He is cold, well, he acts it, but you can see he cares greatly about his friends. He's conflicted, and I really hated him when he mistrusts Tifa. But he knows when he's wrong afterwards, but there's something within him that he cannot control. He is terrified of the degradation, and the voice actor does a great job in expressing that. I'm not concerned with any of his dialogue, well, as much as the others anyway. Sometimes he speaks like he reminds me of some people I used to play Halo with, a bit childish in the dialogue, but overall, I am giving Cloud 10 out of 10. He's fun, and in battle, he is great to use. Barrett, this time it felt more personal for him than remake, and also in the original. Out of all the characters, he is the one who is constantly losing everything. He lost his family in Corel, and then he lost his home in Midgar, and then he lost his best friend all over again. He's had to leave Marlene, who he sees as his daughter. Well, I'm going to call Marlene his daughter. Behind in Midgard because he wants to save her. He wants to improve the world for her. I often think that Barrett's overlooked as a character, yet he is possibly one of the best friends in all of storytelling, and that goes beyond video games. He never gives up on anyone, and he's caring, sympathetic, and he is willing to learn. He knows he has flaws. But then you watch the escape from Temple of the Ancients. I think he makes sure he's the last to leave. I think that the voice actor for Barrett does an incredible job. He pulls off humour and drama. He believes in what he's doing, and like I said, he wants to make the world a better place for Marlene. And the fact that we actually have a character who is trying so much for the sake of a child, that's a relief to see in video gaming. So I'm going to give Barrett 10 out of 10. Easy. Tifa, I was terrified of what they were going to do to Tifa. I'm so glad that they went the direction that they did, because Tifa is my favourite character. She is ultimately one of the best written survivalists in any Final Fantasy game, in all gaming, possibly all storytelling. She has been alone in the world, and she was able to find new purpose despite suffering. She lost her family, her home, her friends, and for all she knew, she was never going to see Cloud again. Yet she carried on fighting, even though there seemed to be nothing left to fight for. I think overall, she is the best written character and the best performed. She's fun to use in battle too, and this is an easy one for me. 10 out of 10. Okay, it's going to go down a little bit now. Sorry. Aerith. I preferred her here in Rebirth than I did in Remake. The only time in Remake I found her annoying sometimes, but she only annoyed me once, I think, in this, and that was when we were climbing Corel when she turns childish. I like again before, I said her song was horrible because there was no build-up, there was no indication that she ever wanted to write songs or to sing. I don't think it was needed because it didn't feel natural in the end, and I wish they'd patch it out or let us skip over it. Like, you know, without skipping over anything else at the same time. And also the marketing for the game included that song, and I think it might have put people off buying it. And it's a shame because I think the voice actor rightfully has been put up for a couple of awards and something. Is it Golden Joysticks? I think I saw. Anyway, she's been nominated for that, and that is well deserved. In battle, I think she's lots of fun to use. I wish she'd move just a little bit quicker. But I have no complaints for performance-wise. I think sometimes she has a little bit of bad dialogue, like when in the battle she says, "No fair!" She's not 10. But overall, I'm going to give Aerith 8 out of 10. It would have been 6 for remake. Red. Everything about Red before Cosmo Canyon is brilliant. His dialogue and voice acting fits perfectly. And then Cosmo Canyon happens. And he turns into Scrappy-Doo. I don't like Red. After that, he becomes my worst character overall because of the change. I really disliked it. I know he's supposed to be 16 when compared to a human, but that doesn't mean he's only been on this planet for 16 years and would therefore turn into an annoying child, which is exactly what happens. Afterwards, I barely used him in the battles because of his shouts. He was annoying both in terms of his words and his performance. In battle, his actions are fantastic. I think it was Stardust Ray, that noise every time you hit it. You feel so powerful. His chapter in the Cosmo Canyon, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was brilliant. But he is let down as a character in the second half of the game, and I'm going to give him 4 out of 10. Yuffie, probably the most overpowered character in terms of battle skills, but also a great deal of fun to control. Her abilities, her quick movements and elemental attacks mean that you have loads of freedom with her. She's a joy to use. Her voice actor is incredible, to the point where she actually saves the character, because the dialogue that Yuffie is given is diabolical. She is a young person from Wutai. She's not a young person from New York or California. You know, she's talking about film rights, BFFs. Oh, it's pathetic. It doesn't fit into the world of Final Fantasy VII. It's not just bad dialogue for Final Fantasy. It's bad dialogue, full stop. I should be here praising her, but the localization team have let her down massively. Her story arc is really good. I really enjoyed her story. And her voice actor, again, incredible. If it was just her, 10 out of 10, easy. I'm going to give Yuffie 6 out of 10. I think that the voice actor should be given all the awards in the world, because without her, I'd only be given 2 out of 10, based on dialogue. But the voice acting, I can't praise her enough. She's awesome. Kate Sif, he looks awesome. I'm using the word awesome too much here. Right, Kate Sif looks great, and he is certainly unique in battle, and probably the most difficult to master. I'm not a huge fan of his dialogue. He sounds like he should be reporting on the Celtic versus Rangers derby. Many of his lines don't fit the world, but that said, his story was decent. I don't think the part that we controlled him was all that great, because throwing the boxes, that felt overdone. I just think that the dialogue should have been better. Like, no, considering that we're supposed to believe that Reeve is controlling him, I'm going to be as kind as I can and give him 7 out of 10, because at times he does make me laugh. Sid, I hope we get Rocket Town in Part 3. I'm worried that we won't, because at this point there is no indication that he has been interested in going up into space, unless I missed something. I wanted to see a lot more of him, and I just hope that in part 3 it's made up for. Also, I think that having him know Aerith's mother is a more realistic way for him being involved and wanting to help. In the original, we just turn up at his house just wanting the tiny Bronco, and then Palmer turns up, gets knocked over by a Shinra van, Sid's cursing, and then we're shot down on a plane, and because we want to stick it to Shinra, he joins up. But on this, you can see that he wants to help and has a reason to. His voice actor is great. I get the toned down version of him. I get why they had to do that. He almost swears as much as I do. In the original game, that is. I do think they should have included his smoking. I can't stand being around smokers. My voice is probably this horrible because of being around smokers all my life. Anyway, I'm going to give him 7 out of 10. I do like Sid. He's one of my favourites, and he was in the original. Vincent. Great introduction. Great surprise battle. But honestly, again, I hate to say it, what's up with some of his dialogue? Example, he describes a woman as a former female staffer. Former female staffer. Nobody talks like that. No one, except if people have spent too much time listening to the repugnant office types in California, the media, or in the White House. And then afterwards, in the English version, he's written like a 14-year-old goth, and it doesn't work. It's awful. I think they should be ashamed of the dialogue they wrote for him. Like I said, the battle was lots of fun, and Vincent's look is great. He looks awesome. And his voice acting is exactly how I imagined Vincent would sound like. But again, let down by the localization. He's getting 5 out of 10. Right, so I'm not going to rate these two, Zack and Biggs, because I don't think they belonged in the game. I think more time should have been put into Sid and Vincent instead of the efforts into Zack. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell too long on that, so I'll go on to Sephiroth. Like with the remake, I think he needed to be more prominent, and they've achieved that again. He felt more dangerous than ever before. He still feels more dangerous than ever before. He's well written. His dialogue is on point. Can't fault it. I prefer him in this game than in the original, which is a huge achievement. And again, another great performance by the voice actor. Although admittedly, I missed the guy from Adventures in Babysitting. That was one of my favourite childhood films. So it's kind of hard that the guy from that isn't Sephiroth in this. But I'm not going to knock the new voice actor because I like the ones from Advent Children. Sephiroth, he is getting a 10 out of 10. Rufus, I'm glad he was given more time than ever before. He truly feels like the guy new to the job. He feels like the president of Shinra. And he wants to make an impact. The only thing that I think slowed him down were his interactions with Glenn, because they were repetitive. Overall, Rufus is a great character, and I'm giving him 9 out of 10. Heidegger. His big part was in Remake, and he kind of took a back seat here, but he takes a shot for Rufus. And I was unsure of his opinions towards the new guy in charge, but he almost died for him, and I really like that. Heidegger, he is getting 9 out of 10. And I haven't looked it up because I don't want to. I don't like to spoil the actors from the characters. but I'm sure that's Bender from Futurama. I'm certain it's Bender. It's gotta be. Anyway, Scarlet. I think Scarlet is great. I think she is lots of fun as a villain. She's not afraid to take the team on by herself and get her hands dirty. Overall, she has been one of the best characters so far. She gets 10 out of 10. Hojo. Just take it easy on the laughing. Other than that, I think he is a nasty piece of work, and he's the reason behind most of the terrible things happening in Cloud's, Tifa's, well, most of their lives. Everyone has a reason to hate him. His voice actor is perfect. Hojo gets 10 out of 10. Palmer, except the timing of his battle, I think he... I liked Palmer, everything about him, because he speaks and acts exactly as Palmer should. He looks like somebody that used to work for me back at a theme park. I'm going to give him 8 out of 10. Song? I was happy that we got to fight him, and that was a fun fight, him and Elena together. I didn't have much of an opinion of him in the original because we don't really get the time. I really like what they've done with Song. He gets 9 out of 10. Rude is probably the best of the Turks so far in the remake. He's sensible, yet he feels dangerous. He tackles things heads on. You can see he misses Reno. Voice actor, spot on. Wouldn't change anything about Rude so far. 10 out of 10. Elena. Again, okay. I wanted so much to like her, but I don't. Her dialogue is similar to that of a 12-year-old spoiled brat. Again, it's a localization thing. I'm not sure if her voice actor has been miscast. It's not that she sounds bad. I really enjoy her voice. I can listen to her talk all day. But I'm not sure if it suits Elena. But I don't know if that's me being harsh, because she could only deliver the lines given to her. And unlike the main characters, Yuffie and Aerith, she doesn't get enough time to talk for the voice actor to make up for that poor dialogue. I'll give Elena 6 out of 10. Oh, and I'm going to give her 7 because that screaming when in the Golden Saucer when that thing dropped, that was funny. Yeah, she's voice actor done great there. Reno. I miss Reno as much as Rude all the way through. I was happy to see him, and then he said taking names and kicking ass. And he said it twice. And then he says, get a room, in regards to Tifa and Rude. The localization has been cruel on Reno so far in this remake trilogy. I'm only going to give him 4 out of 10 because of the little time that he has and the poor dialogue he has been given. I should be liking Reno a lot more than I do. On to a surprise now, because of what I've said about Elena, Yuffie, Aerith, Childish. On to Johnny, and he is the one character that I do not have a problem with the localization team taking liberties with. If he was the only one that had the dialogue of a complete Muppet, the language on this game would be fine, but sadly that's not the case. That said, I like Johnny. He's full of energy. He's funny. He's charismatic. He adds to the world. And I love the fact that they turn his place into a trophy room. So, Johnny, I am giving Johnny 10 out of 10. Because I wouldn't change anything about Johnny so far. Dine, easiest 10 on the game. As I said before, His story stayed with me more than any other part of this game. The writing and dialogue for him was excellent, and I think the standard for him should have been held throughout the entire game. The voice actor for him was perfect. As I said, 10 out of 10. I hope to hear more of the voice actor again in a different Final Fantasy game. I cannot praise him enough. The fight was difficult. The one thing I didn't really particularly enjoy was the whole garbage arm thing. Like, I don't know why they had to include that. But that's just me being picky there. Otherwise, perfect. Roche, I like his story, but again, I do not like his dialogue. He keeps on saying bon voyage. He's not Del Boy Trotter. Why is he saying this phrase in the Final Fantasy game? Because we say it, because it's a different language to us. And French doesn't exist in the English version, so it makes no sense. I also hate that he quotes Maximus Decimus Meridius from Gladiator when he shouts, "Are you not entertained?" Let me get this straight. Great stories do not copy. They don't use pop culture references. They don't constantly use cliches. And that is what this game constantly does in the English version. It is pure laziness from whoever decided to include this kind of stuff. His voice acting, Roche's voice acting, is spot on. He has the right amount of charisma and energy. He'd have got a 10 out of 10, but because of the localization, Roche is getting a 6 out of 10. Gus. I didn't like Gus. It felt like he was overdone and not believable, especially the whole book thing. Just kill him off in part 3. Just have Sephiroth murder him. Didn't really care for him. Regina. I thought Regina was awful, and she's going to be in part 3. I hope she's not. I don't know why Square Enix included her. She felt like that character from that failed Forspoken game. It feels like Square Enix are punishing Final Fantasy fans for not buying that game. Like, you're the ones that made it. Don't include this character. Oh, she's horrible. She really is horrible. She's right. I don't want to say anything else because just don't have that. I don't want to see a character like Regina in a game like this. Anyway, Bugenhagen. I thought he'd have been more vital than what he was. He felt like a bigger deal in the original than he does here. Perhaps that'll change in part 3. I'm going to give him 7 out of 10 for now. I'm hoping he has a bit of a bigger part in 3. But, he sounds like Bugenhagen should. He looks like him. But I was just expecting more. Chadley. I really like Chadley. I think that the most vital part about him is his voice actor. And he does a great job. His dialogue's fine. I like that he engages with Cloud in the car tournament. The way he shuts down, I think it's Maya. But Chadley, there's a little bit more story to him in this time as well. You can see that he's in Hojo's lab. that looks horrible. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with Chadley in part 3. But you can tell that they have something planned. And that's one of the things I'm most interested in. So, great job with Chadley, overall. I will give Sam, Madam M, and Andrea 10 out of 10s. I think that these 3 characters were great additions in Remake, and I really like that they included them for Rebirth. Easy 10 out of 10s, because they do exactly as they should. Great voice actors, great amount of energy, all have their own little stories going on. Sam more so involved with Chloe and Bill, so yeah, them two at the farm, I'll give them 8 out of 10. I like them as characters. Overall, the side characters all over the world, there's lots of them that are fun. There's lots of them that aren't. But overall, I'd give them 6 out of 10. And it's mainly because of the way a lot of them talk. Again, lines of dialogue bring them down. Overall, I've probably been unfair to many of these characters. But sadly, the English dialogue has let the game down. Modern day terms and phrases, which will age poorly, were severely overused. Some of them have aged already. Like, I'm learning Japanese to try and combat my dislike of the English dialogue. And it's difficult. It's more to do with the spare time I have to try and learn. But I'm doing it. And little examples, in Junon Bookshop, there is a character, and she is in an area that suggests she's interested in alchemy. She says, in the Japanese versions, I wonder if any of these books are dangerous. Or she's asking if there's dangerous books there. In the English version, she says, I wonder if they have any smut. Smut. Why the hell is any character within this world saying anything like that? What I imagine that to be is one of, or a couple of the localization teams has said, wouldn't it be funny if we did this? No, it's not. It's repugnant. Get that crap out of our game. Yuffie says, I thought they were BFFs when she's talking about Rufus and the Turks. But one, she has only interacted with these characters once, so she wouldn't recognise the relationship between the two. And BFFs, honestly, what the hell is that doing in this game? Who says BFFs? Annoying types. The types of people nobody wants to spend time with. Let's be real. It's like, Jersey Shore, Geordie Shore in the UK, or Maid in Chelsea. Oh, it's just horrible cheerleader talk. Get it out of this game, you idiots. Koch saying fam during his terrible rap. I stopped watching Doctor Who the moment that Doctor Who used that term. I was like, I can't be arsed with this language. And then Aerith. Right. She, in the Japanese version, she is talking about how wonderful the stars are. And then says to Cloud, she says that Cloud should join for the next photo. In the English version, she says, let's take a selfie. Selfie does not fit in this world. Honestly, this is it. The translators, localization team, they know nothing of etymology and lexicology. They don't know anything about language of world building. They wanted to insert their own dialogue, not translate. This localization idea is nonsense. If you have a job, to translate. You translate it as accurately as you can. You respect the writer. These localizers, from what I have seen, haven't, and they have brought this game down. You know, there's characters who say, you're going to get your ass handed to you. And 2 of the card players say this, one after another in calm. Right after one of them says that they got to learn to take the L. You know, and then everyone constantly saying, holler at me if you want to throw down. Ugh. And then Kate Sith says to Vincent, wouldn't want the enemy winning the information war. Vincent has literally just woke up. He does not know what is going on. You know, why is Kate Sith saying something so lightheartedly? You know, information war. This is bloody USA bloody campaign talk. This is about social media. It's so horrible. It's horrible. In Japanese, in the Japanese version, Kate Sith's not speaking lightheartedly. He is saying we need this information before the enemy gets it. You know, and then there's that lady shouting preach because she agrees with someone. What, is she in a rally at Portland? You know, and there's a small example of a minor change. When Vincent boards the tiny Bronco, Cloud says, you try to screw us over, you're dead. In Japanese, he says, if you get in our way, we'll kill you. Which is much more threatening. It's straight to the point. Like, the translators, they vandalized the dialogue. Like, not just for this game, though. They vandalized the English language. And the truth is, I might not buy part 3 because I hate the dialogue so much. And it's the reason why I can't play this game back. And it's damaged this game so much that I can't even play Remake back. Which I didn't think it was bad. Like, you know, Remake it felt like my favourite game of all time. But now it doesn't because of this. Because of the dialogue that they've included in all of this. I could look past the small bits of bad dialogue in part 1. But this I can't. Like I said, the amount of cliches used in this. It's horrible. I have literally spent thousands of pounds being a fan of Final Fantasy. But all of that might be gone now. And it's because of the decisions from the localization team. And I don't want to say this. I don't like to say this about anyone. But I believe that they should be replaced. And the dialogue rewritten for this game. I paid over £300 for my copy. And if I'd have known about the terrible use of the English dialogue, I don't think I would ever have bought it and just appreciated Remake as it is. Like, I've not played the original back since I've played this. Because I don't want to. I don't feel like it. Because I know what happens to the things that these guys supposedly say. As I said, I'm trying to combat it by learning Japanese, but working 48 to 72 hours a week, you know, finding the time is rather difficult. I am going to do my best, though, because I would love to play this through naturally and just hear the characters say what they're supposed to say. Anyway, the only other negative I can think of is that there were a few too many side quests, and I would have much preferred to have found the summons on the map rather than combat them in the simulator. One minor boggle is the camera angles constantly circling the characters just before fights. That can get annoying, especially in the Golden Saucer chapter. felt like I was on one of those waltzes. Admittedly, overall, I probably would have given this game 10 out of 10 if it wasn't for the localization. But it sucked the life out of the game, and I can only give it 3. I really hate to say it, but I'm angry about the quality. The escapism was entirely destroyed because of a small handful of people. And that's the thing I'm talking about now. I don't want to give them any more time because everyone else involved in this game did a fantastic job, and it's not fair on them. Like, if I play it through, I think I'll have to use the Japanese language and include no subtitles, because I can't even bear to look at the words that the localizers wrote. Overall, it's just my opinion. It's just how I feel. I hope anyone who has played the game enjoyed it more than I did. And I must confess that most of the game was fun for me, and it added to the world of Final Fantasy VII. I just hope that changes are made for Part 3, so that the story can end on a high. I don't think that they will, though. I think they'll carry on with the same people. You know, like I've said before, it felt like it was written for Ariana and Taylor Swift fans rather than people who wanted the story. Like I said before, I wanted to say that I loved everything about this game. And I wanted to shout it from the rooftops, like I did with Remake. Like, I sold that game to loads of my friends. I've probably made Square Enix thousands of pounds just from resales alone because of how many people I told about that game and why they should play it. I don't think I can with this one. Although I will say, just try it, see what you think yourselves. I feel so disappointed because Final Fantasy VII and the characters in this story have meant a lot to me for most of my life. And to deny my feelings towards Rebirth would not be fair on the original creators. Yeah, so yeah, I'm almost done, I think, just talking about it. Like I said, music, amazing. Visually, perfect. I'll be interested to know what this is going to look like on the new PlayStation 5 that's coming out. I think it's next month. Well, that said, it's going to cost about £1,000 if you want to get the disc version. Well, the console plus the disc adapter for it. Yeah, but the land, the story, all of it, fantastic. Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed what I've been saying. I didn't make a remake video way back when. I've put a lot of it up on YouTube, but I didn't make a video. That being said now, I might just do that because the remake I did really enjoy, and as I'm saying this out loud, I kind of think it might improve my feelings towards Rebirth if I were to play through it again. That said, the characters that you see now, Vincent, Sid, I'll miss not seeing them in Remake. That's a certainty. I'll miss not seeing them. But I'll make a I'll make a remake video eventually. It might be a few months from now. Anyway, that is me done. Thank you very much if you've listened this far. My voice is caning me. That is me entirely done. So, off I do go.